So I'm filming this standing in my garage. I had posted the video that I filmed the last morning that I was in Waikiki. It came to my attention though that there was no sound. I'm not sure what happened. Maybe I had my phone all the way turned down. I don't know exactly. As you can tell, I'm sick. So let me back up. The last video that you could hear anything was the morning that we were going on the we were going to go to Pearl Harbor, and then we were going to have the luau. So we ended up going out to Pearl Harbor, and we got out there and we watched the video. It was very enlightening. I didn't know a lot of why Pearl Harbor had happened, and it was very sad. It made me cry watching the video. And then usually after you watch this video, they have a little boat that takes you out to the USS Arizona memorial site, because when USS Arizona sunk, they left it where it was. The soldiers that died on it, most of them are left within the remnants of the ship, and then they built the memorial right on top of it. Well, unfortunately, obviously it's way out in the harbor, and so they need this boat to take you out there. Well, the little dock that is behind the theater where they show you this video, 2 days before we went, sprang a leak and sank to the bottom of the ocean. It was on the news, so we didn't get to go out and see it in person. You could see it from where we stood, and there were pictures all over the place of it, so that was kind of a bummer. But the entire site just had a real mournful feel to it. And there were a lot of Japanese tourists, and as I later talked to one of our guides on a later tour, they are both thankful that it happened, because when the U.S. came into the war in World War II and put an end to the current regime that was in Japan, it set the stage for a complete restructuring of their society. They were still under a feudal system and a very strict caste system. Also, they are respectful, and they're mournful, and they feel very sorry that that regime did that to us. The whole site is actually very beautiful. We didn't have time to go on the Missouri. We did go on the USS Bowfin. It was a retired submarine that they have in dry dock. And oh my God, I'm claustrophobic. So there is no way in hell, even if I had gone into the military, that I could ever have gone on a submarine. Just being in the submarine for as short a period as I was in it, I was on the verge of a panic attack. Everything was so tiny. And then after that, we came back to our hotel. Actually, after that, we went and dropped off our rental car. And we got an Uber ride back to our hotel. We had some time to kill, so we ended up going down to the hotel pool for a little bit. And then we came back upstairs and got ready to go. And the bus picked us up at 4:30 to go out to Germain's. It's so funny because we were in rush hour traffic for Oahu, but the vehicles still kept going. There was no dead stops. They probably were, minimum speed was like 25 miles an hour. And Lee and I are like, that is not rush hour. Try coming to California going into East Bay and you see that rush hour. But we finally got out there. And the site of Germain is on an old sugarcane plantation. Absolutely beautiful. I'm actually in the process of uploading pictures right now to Facebook. They do the package we had. We got off the bus, and we got to pose with two of the hula dancers, and then had our own picture. Now, where they had us posing was right against the shoreline, and it was sunset. So it looks like we have a backdrop behind us, but it was the actual ocean. It was beautiful. And they gave us these shell lays, and we were right up front. So it was a beautiful show, though I have to say I'm not terribly fond of Hawaiian food. I really don't like poi. It's kind of like bland purple paste. If you don't know what that's made out of, it's made out of taro root. I've never been a real big fan of pulled pork, so I really wasn't a fan of the Kalua pork. The teriyaki chicken, teriyaki beef was okay, but Hawaiian teriyaki sauce has a whole lot of pineapple juice in it. And while the fresh pineapple grown on the island is absolutely delicious, I'm not a big fan of pineapple anyway. So So we ate and we had our drinks, and we made some friends with the people that were at our table, a newlywed couple. And so we talked back and forth. They were from the LA area, so we were both in California time. When it was over and we got back on our bus and came back home, promptly went to sleep. The next morning we got up, we had our circle tour. So on the way down to the bus where they pick us up at the hotel about a block away, we stopped at McDonald's, which, for the record, is the only McDonald's in Waikiki that will sell Spam and Portuguese sausage. Just for, shits and giggles kind of thing. I had heard that McDonald's in Hawaii sold Spam, but I didn't know for sure. Well, there it was. And on every corner, like kind of here in the States, the mainland, where every corner has a Starbucks, in Hawaii, just about especially in Waikiki, primarily only in Waikiki, they have a store called ABC stores that are literally like every 2 blocks. And the concept was, our tour guide from Wednesday called it a bunch of crap store, but it's everything you could possibly need. Things that tourists tend to forget, souvenirs, little groceries, this kind of thing. Came in very handy on Thursday morning, but I'll get to that. So we got on the bus to go on this little tour. It was a little tiny bus, held 25 people. We had 20 or 21. So it wasn't too bad. Our tour guide named Brock, he was an ex-Marine, 29 years old. Kind of reminded me of a friend of mine who's also in the Navy, Kevin, just in the way he looked. And he talked exceedingly fast. I know I talk fast, and rewatching these videos from time to time, I realize how fast I really do talk. But this individual spoke so fast that even I, who, just blurts out and just has no concept of how fast I'm talking, could barely understand him. Unfortunately, with all my health issues I have going on, I had an issue. We made a couple stops, and we stopped at the normal bathroom stop they do. Unfortunately, this particular bathroom stop had no running water, and all the women's toilets were filled with disgusting. So he had to stop at another location. So we stopped at this gift shop, and I went in and went to the bathroom, and discovered, to my absolute horror, that I had a bleeding hemorrhoid. It wasn't just like slightly bleeding. I mean, it was just like basically a period from my butt, venturing on TMI. Now, this is an ongoing health issue. I go from one extreme to the other, and basically can't figure out why. So it was, I texted Lee, oh my God, what am I going to do? Luckily, it stopped enough that I could leave the bathroom and not bleed all over everything. But it kind of ruined the mood for the first part of the trip. I was very grumpy. I didn't feel good. So we kept making these stops, got some beautiful pictures. We ended up stopping at this macadamia nut farm. Got some great cookies, got some macadamia nuts. I got a little stained glass thing from my uncle. Got back on the bus, and we went out and had lunch at this beautiful little side of the road shack. I mean, to look at it from the road, it doesn't look like it's anything. But when you get your food and you go around the site, it's this acre upon acre of green rolling ground. They've got ducks and geese and cats, and they have a man-made waterfall, and it just really set the mood for being there. It was gorgeous. And then we got back on the bus, and we went down to Turtle Bay. We were supposed to be going snorkeling with sea turtles. Well, that particular day, this is on North Shore, and North Shore is notorious for surfing. They've got these ginormous, vicious waves, and it's kind of where you go if you want to prove yourself as a surfer. Well, Turtle Bay was no exception, and we were supposed to be swimming with, like I said, sea turtles, but the water was so choppy that every time I had my snorkel and my stuff on, and I was going underwater, if a wave came, it would bounce me up out of the water completely. My body would completely clear the water, and then I'd end up back in the water. I swallowed so much salt water that I was sick. I couldn't find Lee, so I began to freak out, thinking, oh my God, did he drown? But he was already on shore. So I'm making my way back to shore. I'm a much stronger swimmer on my back. I can't swim. I'm not a very strong swimmer anyway, but on my back, I'm much better. I'm almost to shore. I can touch. And one of the elderly gentlemen in our tour group got knocked over by the waves. He was in his 70s, and he basically started rolling out to sea. He couldn't get his purchase, and so Lee bounded into action. I bounded into action because I was so used to doing it because of my parents. So Lee kept him from going any further. We couldn't get him up. I called for a lifeguard. They finally came. They got him up. So, I mean, that was the highlight of that adventure. After the snorkeling, on our way to Dole Plantation, which as our tour guide said, it was just a big honkin' Dole gift shop, basically. I began to feel this burning pain in the back of my sinuses into my throat. I'm thinking, well, it's all the salt water I just swallowed. I mean, because the salinity of the ocean near Hawaii is ridiculous. Partially it's because of the coral reef, partially it's because of the volcanic activity around the island. And I swallowed so much salt water. And I had this, ugh. So we get to Dole Plantation. Of course, I don't like pineapple, as I told you. It was nice and sweet, but still, I'm not a fan of pineapple. So here Leah is getting a glass of fresh squeezed pineapple juice. What do I get? A coffee smoothie. They have barbecue roast corn outside. So I got a Lotus barbecue corn. Basically, it's got mayonnaise and chili powder and paprika and lime and salt and butter, and amazing. I loved it. Leah wasn't so fond of it, but it was really good. It was really soft and tender because it had been barbecued. We got back on the bus and headed back home. Got back to our drop-off spot. Came back to our hotel. Showered a little bit to get all the sand off of me. I had sand in places I didn't know I could have sand. You know, I had already been in the ocean once and didn't end up like this, but I was just covered. I had sand in every crevice I could imagine. So we got showered and we said, okay, we're going to go wander out again. We got some more, he gave us some good ideas about some souvenir shopping. It's a little place that we would never have found. If you are in Oahu, in Waikiki, and you want to find some cheap, well-made, amazing souvenirs, go to a place called Duke's Lane. It's kind of a little alley tucked between two buildings, and if you didn't know it was there, you wouldn't ever find it. But if you put Duke's Lane into your GPS, it will guide you there. It's not really well publicized. It's kind of like a swap meet in a back alley. So we ended up with a lot of great gifts for a lot of people. Once we got down, I was starting to feel substantially worse though. By the time I got, started out on our walk, I had been having this on and off problem with, sweating this cold, miserable sweat, and but it would usually be just because I was overly hot. And once I got cooled off, it was fine. But this never stopped. And the longer I'm going, the more I'm realizing, okay, this pain in my back of my throat and in my nose, it's not from the salt, because it has that nasty, sick taste. I tried to ignore it. We did our shopping. We went over to Duke's to finish off our gift card. I had something called a tropical itch that literally came with a back scratcher in the drink. I'm not kidding. And I thought it was so amazing that I had the waitress sign it. I was very drunk. And we were out on the bar at the back of Duke's. And the bar is basically this open area with palm fronds on the roof, and you can just look out at the ocean. And basically any round table is free for all. Well, the only round table that was left that night was this ginormous table that held like 7 people. So we told the host, okay, we're gonna sit here, but if anybody else needs a table, direct them to us. We don't mind sharing. So first we had these 4 people, husband, wife, their older daughter, and her son. And then shortly thereafter came a little Turkish kid who had finished college and internship here. Had a month before he had to be back in Turkey for his classes to start. So he was traveling around the United States. So he had that was his last night in Hawaii as well. It was fascinating talking to him. At the end of it, once we tallied our food, we had plenty left over, so we covered his bill. He was completely shocked. I guess Americans over in Europe are not known to be so generous. So he was shocked, and it was kind of nice. So then after dinner, we wandered off down the beach, and I was fine until we started walking back. Now, we had walked, all total, I think we probably walked about 35 miles over the course of the week. This particular night was like close to 5 or 6. Like I had gotten off the bus for our circle tour with a grand total of 3,000 steps. By the end of the night, I had 16,000. So, but as we're walking and putting one foot in front of the other, I start to feel worse and worse. My face is hurting, my throat hurts, I'm covered in this cold, clammy sweat, and the pulsing is bad. I found though that if I watched my feet when I walked, and I only focused on the ground in front of me and kind of watched Lee's feet, the pulsing sensation seemed to minimize. So we got to the hotel room and I was toast. I didn't want to do anything. But I was also wide awake. So I sat there, I read a little bit, and eventually I went to sleep. But we did pack our bags. We got all packed and stuff before we left the night before. And so that was one less thing we had to do in the morning. So we finished getting everything put together. We left the hotel. I want to say, let's see, our flight was leaving at 12:45. We had to be there by 10:45. We left the hotel about 9:30 via Uber. Got there. Now, it's when we left through SFO, we only had to do one scan. That was through TSA. We had to take off our shoes, take medication out of our bags, that kind of thing. And we had to go through this round detector and kind of stand like this. And, they checked us. And I guess I had some additional density right here. So they patted me down. And I put my shoes on and went on my way. In Hawaii, it was another story. You first walk into the airport. Before you could even go check in, they scan your bag. This is the United States Agricultural Checkpoint. They're looking for fruits, flowers, you name it. Because apparently Hawaii has this very invasive, very aggressive fruit fly that they don't want to spread elsewhere. And California is notoriously Nazi-ish about bringing fruit in from other places anyway. They always have been since I was a kid. So we passed that, checked in, checked our baggage, and then went off to TSA. Completely different experience. You walk in, cell phone in your bag, put my cell phone in my bag. It went through. Shoes stayed on, went through a regular metal detector, picked up our bag, and off I went. The one thing I did find, and this was very frustrating, I was not aware, because I've never really flown through an international airport with a lot of duty-free shops. And so I didn't know that there were international duty-free and domestic duty-free. I didn't know that. So we passed this one duty-free shop, and it was like a carton of Marlboros were like $33 versus like 85 here. I'm like, well, crap, I'm going to buy a couple cartons to get that over with. So I got up there, got ready to go back out, wait, you're trying. So that was a bummer. But, ate lunch, we kind of hung out. Finally, our plane was late getting to the gate. Once it did, we got loaded very quickly, went through pre-departure, departed very quickly. This time, unlike our travel there, we had window seats. So I was able to watch as we flew over the water. I took a lot of pictures. It was gorgeous. But we flew there on Hawaiian Airlines. Best experience with a plane in my life. Flew back on United. I do not recommend United. Flight staff, not only were they just completely apathetic and distant and aloof, they were kind of rude. Hawaiian Airlines fed us. Granted, it was a little kind of cheesy breakfast, but it was still food. It was, yogurt and granola and fruit and a little muffin. And they gave you juices, and they even had a little Hawaiian rum thing they would give you. With United, they gave you peanuts. You had to pay for anything else. No, sorry, it wasn't peanuts, it was pretzels. You had to pay for everything else. Okay. That was fine. I slept most of the ride back, and so did Lee. We get landed, and we are on the tarmac for 30 minutes. Because we came in, Hawaiian Airlines leaves out of the international gates at SFO. United flies in and out of the domestic gates. We were in a 777. There are very few gates that could handle the size of our airplane. So we had to wait until a gate became available. We finally got off the plane, made our way through the airport after stopping at the bathroom, and it took us another half an hour to get our bags. I was beginning to think they had gone to Albuquerque or Abu Dhabi or something without us. Finally got our baggage, and then we had to make our way to the airport shuttle to pick up our courtesy shuttle to take us to the parking lot where we had parked. After some confusion, we found our shuttle, got in the car. Lee got to our car. Lee made a circuit around the car and put on all the electronics, and we were on our way home. We got home about 12:30. That was still about 9:30 Hawaiian time. Now, while we didn't completely acclimate, we did to a point. I did go to sleep about 1:30, I think, and I woke up at about 8. I decided that A, I'm just going to get up when I wake up so I can start to acclimate again, and B, my dog. We got back home, and my dog, if any of you have ever met her, she is needy and clingy as crap. I get back home, and she won't leave us alone. She didn't take no for an answer. She got up in the bed with me. To give you an idea, Howie, the cat that we had rescued from the neighborhood, missed me so much that he was crying the entire time I walked in the door. He hates Sookie. Hates her. Does not like dogs at all. But I found him on my chest within 4 inches of Sookie, and he was content to stay right on me. So that, our animals were just ridiculous. This morning I got up, took my time getting ready. I had a doctor's appointment. As many of you know, I had foot surgery about a year ago, and I had developed pain across the bridge of my foot. Well, I went to my podiatrist for this, and he looked at my x-rays, and he goes, well, you're not going to like what I have to tell you. And I thought, great, surgery again. He's like, well, we could, but that's not what I'm going to tell you. I said, okay. It's arthritis. I have, between my tarsal and metatarsal, that joint, I have no cartilage. It's bone on bone. He's like, I didn't really notice that you weren't looking at that joint. We can do one of three things. One, do nothing. Treat it with NSAIDs and limit your exercise. Two, we can give you custom orthotics, which is what I'm going with. Or three, they can do surgery. But because I'm so young, they don't want to do it. Well, I did mention him. I said, to be fair, I'm going through, I had a positive ANA panel, blah, blah. He's like, well, I know your RA factor, I can see here, was negative. You could still have RA, but it's not real likely. And then I pointed out the lupus butterfly. Now, I'm not wearing any makeup right now, and I'm tan. You can really see it. Like from a distance, you can see it. And he's like, yeah, I see the lupus butterfly rash. Well, thanks. So then he proceeded to tell me that lupus arthritis, even if they went in, deep-breeded it, and put an artificial cushion in there, lupus arthritis would just eat it. And he said that chances are, if it is lupus, the pain in my body will continue to get worse. Wonderful, right? Yeah, that's what I thought. And he asked you, well, when do you find out for sure? I said, well, I don't know. I don't have an appointment until December. And so I guess he's going to try to talk to my rheumatologist and see if they can get me in sooner. One of the big annoying things is I am developing bruises. Can you see that bruise right there? And it's going down into my wrist. I have them on both my feet, my thighs. I am just bruising everywhere. So, but all my other levels, white blood cell counts, that kind of thing, are all normal. So I'm not feeling well today. After the doctor's appointment, we wandered off because my tire pressure light came on again. Same tire that keeps going low. Dropped it off at the tire store, walked over and had breakfast. Was in the middle of breakfast when they called me. I needed 4 new tires. Apparently the sidewalls were cracking and bubbling to the point where my back tire was already starting to lose air. Fortunately for me, 4 brand spanking new tires for my Altima was only $300. And I discovered, now I've had my Altima for 3 years, and I can't go over speed bumps at any particular speed because I scraped my chassis. Couldn't figure out why. My Altima rode lower than anybody else's Altima that I've ever come across. As it turns out, the tires that were on my car were a ½ inch too small. So now they put on the stock tires, and guess what? No more scraping. So he went and got the car washed, went over to the neighborhood Osh. Yeah, they're closing by the end of the year, so I picked up some awesome, we call them skull apples. They're like skulls, but they have the texture of pineapple, and they got like a pineapple leaf coming out of their head, and they glow, and they're black and sparkly. And then went to Starbucks, got everybody Starbucks, and then came back home. Started laundry, unpacked. Lee's mom came by, and now I'm doing laundry, which is why I'm out in the garage. And now unfortunately, we had plans tomorrow. We were going to go visit one of Lee's friends up in Napa and watch the UFC fight. But unfortunately, because I am sick, I'm not going anywhere. So he's going to be flying solo. He probably won't be home tomorrow night. That's okay. I would rather him be somewhere safe if he's drinking, which I know he will be, than home. But anyway, that's where we're at. We made it home safe and sound. We had a really good time. But unfortunately, I got sick. So there you go. Hopefully this one has sound. I will check it before I post it. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, insights, post them below. And have a good rest of your weekend, guys.